Hi guys, after like a year or something, what a year it was. Yeah, I'm back just to make an update on audiophile stuff, and because it's been a very interesting experience, I want to share it with you. Let's speak about the unspeakable from last year. So I hope everybody's well, everybody's families are well, friends and everything, and I hope that everybody has gone through this unscathed. So fingers crossed, everybody's well, and yeah, it's been nasty, to be honest, but it's been nasty for everybody, and it's been nasty for everybody in different ways. But if everybody's still here, then it's all good. So, well, we're getting back to normality, so this is a normal video. As I said, it's about audiophile stuff, and last video I made was about the Hago 590, which I was planning to replace I don't have it here, it's over there, my i32 as a preamplifier and my two wired for sound SX1000Rs to have like one box, do the streaming and everything, and on paper it sounded great. When I experienced the thing, I was a bit disappointed. I could very well see the qualities of the Hago 590, but it just wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me. It smoothed out everything, and I listen to rock music, mainly rock music, like very generalized kind of things, like what does rock music constitute? Is like, so here's like I've been doing some listening, and it's like 16 horsepower, if you know them. It's sort of Americana, indie Americana kind of thing. And here's like an adjacent band, Woven Hands, from the same guy, and one of my favorite records, their first one. So it's like the Ramones, so PJ Harvey. Just to give you and I go to other places as well, like Agnes Obel, Marilyn Manson. What else have we got here? It's like, just to give you a national. It's like my listening habits are like really all over the place. Like Grace Jones, Bad for Lashes. So what else have you got? It's like just a mess. It's just a mess. And the thing is, I want a system that can sound good with all of these and without compromising, feeling like I'm compromising on something. And with the Hago, I found myself compromising on some recordings. So I ended up listening to things that sounded good on the Hago, because some things just didn't sound well. Just that the sound was, it did two things. First of all, it smoothed out everything. So things that have like really aggressive guitars, or like really there's grunt to it, like Tool, for example, or you don't have to go that far. I mean, one of the recordings that I felt that was very much affected was this one. It's a live recording from Neil Young. Neil Young and Crazy Horse Weld, and double CD, really good, by the way. And it has really, at least with my previous system before the Hago, it sounded like really, you could feel the grunge of the guitar, the grunt. Or here's another one, I have CDs down here, like Metallica. It's just the grunt of the guitar was lost, and the recordings that weren't up to par, they sounded really crap. So the equipment sort of dictated what I needed to listen to, what was best. And when I caught up on that gig, I was like, nope, I'm not doing that. So I sold it. So it's gone. I'm not saying that it's bad equipment. it's really good. It does some things really, really well. And for some people will be very happy, I bet. But that wasn't me. So I went back to my i32 and my, let me show, yeah, and my amps, and I was a happy bunny. But I wasn't entirely happy because the ideal system has always been to get the Premiere Pre-35 and get a Premiere system primarily because I like how they look, and this is how they look, and because of the functionality that they have, because they have really good functionality, loads of digital inputs, a really good phono preamp, which is this one, the R35. It's like endgame phono stage for me. I mean, it has all the gain options, MC, different loadings, everything. You can match up any kind of cartridge. It matches up with the cartridge I have right now, which is an Feta 2, but I can get like a really low output one, and it goes up to, has XLRs. It can go up to 77 dB gain on MC, which is really important because, you know, you lose, you know, body basically if you don't have enough gain. And the Pre-35, which is this one, I wanted to get a preamplifier because I was using the pre-section of basically an integrated amp. And it's silly, it's like, well, why have that? And besides, this one, the Pre-35, has a new DAC. It has the Prisma functionality. So it does like Rune, it connects, it's just new. It has everything on it, and you can do a lot more things, as I will get to, than the i32. And then finally I wanted to have a a Premiere CD, because one of the reasons why I really like Premiere, and it's the way that they look. So, you know, I don't know about you, it's a little bit of a taste thing, but I like the clean aesthetic, and I like the way that they look. I like the way that they they have that, you know, Scandinavian design. So, you know, it's me. Some people like, you know, a hodgepodge of different things and whatnot, but I like, you know, uniformity. I'm anal that way, sorry. The other thing that I really liked about my i32 was that it did not dictate what... it is a high-end machine, right? You know, the i32, when it came out, I think it was like, I don't know, £3,500 or something, or 4,000 or whatever. It was an expensive piece of kit, but at the same time, it didn't tell me that, oh no, this is a poor recording. I will, you know, I will play it in a way that will make you vomit. Not vomit, but you get the gist. And put on something that is really well recorded. So I prefer Radiohead. I don't want you to be listening to, I don't know, the Brain Bombs or whatever. And yeah, I don't want you to listen to black metal. It's like, it's badly recorded. Yeah, that's the point. Sorry, but that is the point. It's like, you know, just make it play. Sorry, I only do, like, you know, quality stuff. So, you know, it didn't do that. And so aesthetics, functionality, and also the experience that it didn't do, you know, some things, it didn't guide me towards whatever it wanted me to listen to. So that is a big thing. And also it had one thing, another thing that I noticed with the i32 comparing with previous amplifiers and the Hago, which was a little bit more fresh in my mind, was that it had that grunt. So, you know, when guitars were like really chugging, you could actually hear that chugging, and it was really enjoyable. So, come to my to the gist of this this video. The experience of buying new equipment and expecting that, you just put it in, you plug it in, and presto, everything happens, and it's like, woo! It might happen to you. It's something that I hope that you do experience. And you plug it in first time, you switch it on, you play music, and you're like, yeah, that's what I wanted. That wasn't the case with me. And I want to share my experience because, you spend some money on equipment and sometimes it doesn't work and you get frustrated, but there are ways of fixing things. So here's the thing. So I bought the Pre-32 and the DD35. I put it in the rack, came in, it has the Prisma module, blah, 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 and all that good stuff. And because now I have a preamplifier that has dedicated outputs, it has XLRs and it has RCAs, I thought that, the best thing to do, because, being an audiophile, I'm like, the amplifiers have XLRs, the Pre has XLRs, I will connect it with an XLR cable. That's the way to go. It doesn't have to, because the length between the distance is like tiny, and in reality it doesn't make a big difference. XLRs are good for long distances, but it has noise rejection, which is good, and if you look at it, it doesn't look very busy, but there's like a shitload of cables, electric cables underneath there that I've hidden meticulously, and it's probably a noisy place. So I was like, you know what, I'll get some XLRs. Because I spent quite a bit of money, I didn't want to spend like audiophile, money for XLRs. And I bought a pair of XLRs that are based on the Mogami 3425. Anyway, a Mogami cable with Nutric connectors, so you can't get wrong with that. I mean, it's like it's fine. It's perfectly serviceable. So I take it in and plug everything in, connect to my server, play some FLAC files, and all the disappointment. And it's something that I didn't expect. So I read one review at some point. If you ever read any reviews for the Pre-35, it usually comes as a package with a Pre-35 and the matching amplifier. And the reviews are really good for that, when it's like a pair. I've read one review that is just the preamplifier. And in that review it said that, look, it's really good on the highs, it's really good on the mids, pretty much, but there's so much bass and it's like intrusive and it's like it's not good. And I was like, when you read a review and somebody says, oh, it has too much bass, it's like, how much is too much? Is it like, dubstep level? Is it a little bit boomier than you would like? And how much do you usually like? Like if you listen to electrostats that have no bass whatsoever, then maybe having a little bit more might be a bit like, oh, I'm used to like whatever. So, but I thought that would be a positive, to be fair. Oh, what a surprise. The surprise was that there was too much bass. And I'm talking about intrusive and way, way, way much more than anything. Now, this is a small room, and I'm pretty sure that the room has a little bit to do with it, because I am aware that I had a problem before as well, but this was excessive. And when I say excessive, it was excessive to the point that the lower frequencies would mask anything that would happen mid-range and above. So I would listen to my favorite recordings, my test recordings, if you like, which are like things that I'm very familiar with, not necessarily things that are high-end recordings. So, for example, one of them is U2's From Mac to Baby 1, the song 1. That is one of my go-to recordings, because although it's not well recorded, it's not high-end recording, it has a lot of things happening, and I know how it sort of sounds and how it used to sound with the old system, because I've listened to it so many times. And one of the things that I noticed is like, I could hear the voice, all the instruments were like gone, pretty much I couldn't hear them, and I could hear the really high frequencies, and like, there's like strings and whatnot, I could hear the strings, everything else in the middle, gone, completely. Radiohead, Moonshape Pool, Identikit, there is a kick drum, that kick drum just drowned everything. You could hear the voice, but everything else, because it's very nuanced as a recording, it has a lot of things going on with the guitar strumming and voices and electronics and whatever. All these were gone. You could hear the voice, and I could hear that it was like clear and really well, placed, but everything else was drowned out. And I was like, geez, why? So I started playing around. One of the first things that I did was that I changed the plugs on the speakers. So the Kefs come with 2 sets of plugs. This is the second set, and there's a long one and a short one. The short one has, in my room anyway, has a little bit more kick, but it doesn't go very low. These don't have a kick, but they extend lower frequencies. So I prefer to remove some of the lower energy and put it a little bit higher up and get a little bit more kick. That sort of did it a little bit, but it just wasn't working. So frustrated as I was, I took the preamp out and I put my old one in just to listen and hear, what if that was the case of what was happening. And indeed, I could really say that, yeah, that was the case. I didn't give up. I removed my i32 and I put back the pre-35, and I started listening again, trying to figure out what I could do. I didn't move the speakers. The speakers have stayed on the same position. And I had an idea, basically, as I was like sort of trying to figure out why this is happening. I looked at the matching amplifier and the kind of the impedance that that amplifier has versus the impedance of these monoblocks. And these are very easy to drive. They are 91 k ohms, so kilo ohms in impedance, which means that they're very easy. You could even drive them with a passive, really. And the amplifier, the Premier amplifier, the matching amplifier for this pre, has a 40 kilo ohm one. So now, one of the things that I don't know is what is the output, so the watt RMS output of this for XLR and RCA, and so that I can see if it's like, because I figured out that what's happening is basically that this preamplifier was overloading the amps. That was the case. That's what was happening. That's why I was getting that kind of sound, because Premier is not known for that kind of bloated sound. It's very sort of, they say that they have this word called lagom, which is, I don't know, it's like Swedish or whatever, for very sort of even-keeled kind of thing. And that wasn't even keeled. That was like, dub party. Everything that you put through it, it was like a dub party, basically. Like, if there was like any lower frequency than, I don't know, 100 hertz, then it was dub party. Yeah, it's like dub it up. And yeah, that's what I figured out. So I was like, you know what? This is what's happening, is that the XLRs, through the XLR, it's just driving the snot out of it, basically. So I tried the RCAs. With the RCAs, it was a little bit better, but with my old RCAs, it was a little bit better, but it was still like, meh. Then, another thing that I noticed was that, hang on, one of the channels is lower. And I did indeed find out, playing mono recordings, that the left channel had a different level. It sounded different to the right one. And I was like, oh, Jesus. And I kept on, though. I didn't get really frustrated and call my, the dealer up and say, take this bloody thing back. First of all, as I left it playing for a long time, it's been playing for days now, and miraculously, or I don't know how, the balance issue fixed, no problem, by itself, just happened. The other thing that once I found out about the potential of the overloading the amplifiers, I went on and decided to do the following experiment. I got a cable that is RCA on one side and male XLR on the other side. The idea was that RCAs and XLRs have a different max volt RMS. Is it volt RMS? Volt RMS, I think. Volt RMS, yes. Volt RMS. So usually the XLRs have 4, and the RCAs have a maximum of 2 point something or something like that. So if you connect the RCA to the XLR on the amp, even if it's overdriven, it can never overdrive the XLR. The RCA can never do that because it's always half. And I got a pair of very cheap cables from from Amazon, and got them in a couple of days, plugged them in, and presto. Bass, no problem. No problem at all. Everything was it was solved. It was yep, I was right. It was overdriving. The problem was that it was overdriven, basically. And it was a mismatch between the impedance of the amplifiers and the sensitivity of the amplifiers versus the output and the impedance of the preamp. So, if I had the Premier power amp, that wouldn't have been a problem. It would just play, no problem. But if you have to mix and match, you might come up with a problem. So you better make sure that you don't underdrive, because then you get noise, or you overdrive because then you get a mess. It needs to be matched up somehow. So having discovered that, I was like, all right, so what's the next step here? Because, all right, this looks, a feasible sort of, solution. And I was listening to it and whatnot. And so I ordered some better cables rather than the 15-pound cable that I used, which I'm expecting at some point to arrive. And I kept on listening. I just left it to play. One of the things that I noticed, apart from the problem with the left channel, is that I think that the preamplifier is changing in character. I know that, and that is burn-in. Now, I know that some people have opinions about burn-in, and I've been doing a lot of fiddling as well, but I truly believe that the sound of this preamplifier has been changing slightly, in addition to whatever I'm doing as well. So, keep that in mind. So there is a solution for this setup. So one of the things that I found out was that I could potentially match up this preamplifier with the XTZ amps, power amps. There is a power amp, the A3400, I think, that has a gain switch on the back. So potentially I could fiddle around with that and match it up so there wouldn't be any kind of excessive feedback. But that would mean that I need to sell these and buy the other one, and it's like I need a better solution. The other thing was that as I was listening to the RCA to the XLR, I found out that the sound was like super boring. Although it wasn't overdriving the amplifiers, it wasn't driving them. It was like everything was there. Like, you know, the detail was there, the bass was there. The bass was a little bit recessed, to be honest. And it was a little bit, and there were no dynamics. There were no dynamics. That was the main problem, is that you could hear the band playing louder, but the sound didn't sound louder. You didn't experience it in that kind of way. And I was, alright, you know, this sounds okay, but there's like a lack of lower frequencies. Now it was starting to lack stuff. And it was also flat. I couldn't hear it. There wasn't any energy in the sound. So I was like, you know what? This preamplifier has started to I can hear that it's changing, it's burning in, and maybe I should try the XLRs again. And I did. And this time around, I didn't, because I switched to the shorter ones, and then I went back to the longer ones. By the way, I didn't mention this. So what I did was I tried the XLRs again, which I know that they are overdriving the amps. I changed to the short plugs, so there's a little bit more kick, but not so much lower energy. And I could discern mid-range details and higher frequency details, but it was still a little bit overwhelming. And then I got a flash idea, which is the following. One of the things that is really good about Prisma and the Primera amps, you can go onto the inputs. So I don't know if you can see this. This is going to be hard. Yeah, this is going to be hard. Let me just do something. Okay. I don't know if you can see it now. Oh, jeez. Okay, here you go. So these are the inputs. And you can go, for example, to the streaming bit. Select each one. Each of the inputs has its own thingy. And then you go here. And I don't know if you can see that, but you can select gain. So that's what I did. I lowered the gain. I went to the digital inputs, so for the CD and for streaming, and I lowered it by 8 dB. And yes, you need to crank it up a little bit more, but when you do level match, it doesn't have the same, it doesn't sound the same. It's no longer overloading the output somehow. I don't know what's happening. Ooh, a kid. So that's interesting. That is interesting. And what I did is all the digital inputs are 8 dB lower. At least for now, 8 dB sounds, to my ears, sounds correct. I might fiddle around with that a little bit more. Maybe I will put it down to 6 or maybe increase it a little bit more, I don't know. And the analog one, I've increased it by 3 dB. So it's a little bit more level matching, and I think that it benefits from the additional dBs. So yeah, I've had this equipment for like around 10 days, and it hasn't been an easygoing and like, straight out of the box, great experience. Not experience, and it's partly my fault because I tried to match something that has already a pair. It's not designed necessarily to match up with other things, but you live and learn, and I hope that if there's a lesson for you out there, that if you want to mix and match, make sure that the electrical qualities of the equipment sort of marry up, because otherwise you might you probably will experience issues. So yeah, other than that, when I get it to 100% work, I think that it was a good upgrade. There's definitely a lot better definition. Voices sound better. As compared to the i32, as compared to the Hagel, the Hagel was really good when it came to depth and smoothness and all that. This doesn't sound smooth. It sounds whatever the recording sounds. You get if it's grunty and that kind of thing, you get that. And it's a bit flat. So whereas the Hagel extended things a little bit behind the speaker, it sort of gave you that kind of. If you listen to Dead Can Dance, for example, it's like, ooh, there's a cave behind my speakers. Here it doesn't happen so much. A little bit, it's flatter, but as I said, you have to do some give and take. And in my case, as much as I enjoyed listening to Dead Can Dance on the Hagel, I prefer listening to the Ramones on this one. So there you go. So anyway, that's my experience. I wanted to share. I hope that you enjoyed it and you got something out of it. And yeah, I will see you soon when I sort of finalize everything and everything works as I would like it to. So yeah, hope everybody's well. As I said, have a lovely weekend and see you soon.